Hey, listeners, are you ready to take control of your car buying experience and make smart financial decisions? Introducing the Ultimate Auto Finance Guide, your go to resource for navigating the complex world of auto finance. Whether you're a first time buyer or looking to refinance, this guide has all the tips, tricks, and insider knowledge you need to secure the best deal. Don't miss out on this opportunity to empower yourself and drive away with confidence. Head over to www.ultimateautofinanceguide.com now and grab your digital copy. Trust me, it's the smartest investment you'll make before buying your next car. Welcome back to Drive to Success Mastering Auto Finance, the podcast where we dive deep into the forces shaping auto finance. I'm your host, John Lewis, and today I'm discussing a topic that's gaining serious momentum and can fundamentally change how we think about vehicle values and loan risk. Let me start with a story that caught my attention last month. Consumer Reports published an investigation into Tesla repair costs that stopped me cold. They documented a 2021 Model Y owner whose vehicle appeared to suffer minor rear-end damage in the parking lot. The impact knocked out a couple of sensors and damaged the rear bumper. Tesla's estimate $12,000 for the repair. The insurance company seriously considered totaling the 3-year-old vehicle for what appeared to be a fender bender. Here's what really got me. The investigation revealed that the independent repair shops estimated the same work for around $3,000 if they could access Tesla's diagnostic tools and purchase parts at reasonable prices, but they can't. Tesla keeps the ecosystem locked down tight. And this isn't isolated to Tesla anymore. The investigation found similar patterns across luxury brands. Recent industry reports show some Tesla body damage repairs approaching $20,000, and even a windshield replacement for a Model X can hit $1,300 before labor. This is becoming the new normal when manufacturers control the entire repair ecosystem. This story perfectly illustrates what we're discussing today. The right to repair movement and how it's poised to reshape vehicle values, depreciation curves, and loan to value ratios across our industry. So, what exactly is the right to repair movement? At its core, it's about giving consumers and independent repair shops access to the same diagnostic tools, parts, and repair information that manufacturers currently keep locked down. Right now, if you want to fix a modern car's computer system, and let's be honest, that's almost everything in today's vehicles, you often have to go through the dealer network. The manufacturers control access to diagnostic software, calibration tools, and even basic repair manuals for electronic systems. But there's legislation moving through Congress that could change all of this. It's called the Right to Equitable and Professional Auto Industry Repair Act, the Repair Act for short. That's HR 1566 for those keeping track. Here's what's new. The bill was reintroduced in February of 2025 with strong bipartisan support. We're talking about Representatives Neil Dunn from Florida, Brendan Boyle from Pennsylvania, Warren Davidson from Ohio, and Marie Glesenkamp Perez from Washington, along with 12 additional co-sponsors. It's been referred to the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, and there's also a companion Senate bill, S 1379. This bipartisan bill would require manufacturers to make vehicle data, tools, software, and parts available to consumers and independent repair shops. Now, you might be thinking, John, this sounds like a regulatory issue. Why should I care about this as an auto finance professional? Well, stick with me because this is about to impact every aspect of how we value vehicles and assess loan risk. Let's talk about the economics of repair versus replacement. because this is where it gets interesting in our industry. While doing research for this episode, I came across some eye-opening data. A typical advanced driver assistance system, ADAS, sensor replacement, which handles lane keeping, automatic braking, and blind spot monitoring, costs between $1,500 and $3,000 at a dealer service center. But independent shops, when they can get access to the parts and calibration tools, charge $500 to $800 for the same repair. Think about that. We're talking about 60 to 70% difference in repair costs. Now, let's examine how this impacts auto finance. When vehicles are expensive to repair, they tend to depreciate more quickly. Insurance companies declare vehicles' total losses not because they're severely damaged, but because the repair cost exceeds what they consider the vehicle's actual cash value. I've seen BMWs declared totaled after relatively minor accidents because replacing a few damaged sensors and recalibrating the systems costs more than the vehicle's value. That's not normal market depreciation. That's artificial depreciation by monopolized repair costs. Let's dig into the loan to value ratio implications because this is where the rubber meets the road for lenders. When vehicles are easier and cheaper to repair, they tend to maintain their value better over time. This has several cascading effects on auto lending that we need to understand. First, we could see lower depreciation curves. A Tesla Model 3 might depreciate by 50% in 3 years, could potentially retain 65% of its value if repair costs decrease significantly. That's a massive shift in residual values. Second, reduce total loss declarations. Currently, insurance companies often declare vehicles totaled when repair costs exceed 75% of the vehicle's actual cash value. With cheaper repairs available, more vehicles get fixed instead of replaced. Third, there should be better collateral protection for lenders. When vehicles maintain higher residual values throughout the long term, lenders face less risk if they need to recover the collateral. But here's the thing, this isn't just theoretical. We're already seeing this play out in Massachusetts, which passed a right to repair law for vehicles back in 2020. Let me share some real data from Massachusetts. Independent shops in the state report handling 40% more complex electronic repairs compared to 2019. That's a significant shift in just a few years. More importantly, we're starting to see the financial impact. Vehicle values in Massachusetts are showing slightly better retention compared to similar vehicles in states without right to repair legislation. The data is preliminary, but the trend is evident. And Massachusetts isn't alone anymore. As of early 2025, we're tracking 20 states with active right to repair legislation focused specifically on electric vehicles and automotive repairs. These states include California, New York, Maine, Massachusetts, Illinois, Colorado, Texas, Florida, Vermont, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Missouri, Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey, and Delaware. These states are advancing bills that specifically address EV repair access, things like battery diagnostic tools, telematics platform interoperability, and producer responsibility of EV battery recycling. Some states like Maine and Massachusetts have already enacted laws that directly impact EV repair data access, while others have bills moving through their legislatures. This is becoming a nationwide movement and not just an isolated experiment. Now let's discuss which vehicle segments will be most significantly impacted by this shift. Electric vehicles and luxury cars are at the forefront. Tesla, BMW, Mercedes. These manufacturers have the highest repair costs and the most proprietary systems, but this is coming for everyone. Ford's new F-150 Lightning has over 100 electronic control units. When that truck is 5 years old and needs repairs, right to repair legislation could be the difference between an $8,000 repair bill and a $2,000 one. That's the difference between a repairable vehicle and an economic total loss. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The manufacturers aren't happy about this, and they have some valid concerns alongside their business interests. They argue that independent shops might compromise safety or use inferior parts. There's some merit to this. Modern vehicles are complex, and improper repairs can be dangerous. In fact, cybersecurity and safety systems have become their strongest arguments. However, let's be honest, this is about protecting a highly profitable service revenue stream. Tesla, for example, has made higher profit margins on service than on vehicle sales in many quarters. When you control the entire repair ecosystem, you can charge premium prices. But here's what's interesting. The same manufacturers who argue about safety have no problem selling parts to independent shops in other countries where right to repair laws are stronger. BMW parts are the same whether they're installed in Germany or Georgia. The industry has even introduced competing legislation called the Safe Repair Act, which suggests they recognize reform is inevitable but want to shape its terms. That's a positive sign. It means we're moving from if to how. There's one interesting wrinkle here. SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Market Association, has taken a neutral stance on the Repair Act. They note it doesn't extend protections to vehicle modification businesses or provide access to recalibrate ADAS systems after customization. So even within the industry, there are nuances to what access should look like. So what does this mean for vehicle lifespans in the used car market? This could be transformative. We might see 10-year-old vehicles with 150,000 miles still being viable and reliable transportation because independent shops can affordably maintain all electronic systems. Think about the implications. Longer vehicle lifespans means consumers keep their cars longer. That changes trade-in cycles, affects new car demand, and shifts the entire dynamics of the used car market. For auto finance, this could mean that longer loan terms become more viable because the underlying asset maintains its value and functionality for a longer period. It can also mean changes in how we think about gap insurance and extended warranties. And here's something we haven't talked about enough. The insurance industry has a financial incentive to support right to repair. Lower repair costs means reduced total loss payouts. So we may see insurers become more vocal advocates for this legislation, which could add significant political weight. Let's talk about the timeline and practical implications for auto finance professionals. If the Federal Repair Act passes and with the bipartisan support it gained in February of 2025, momentum is building, I'd expect significant market changes within 18 to 24 months. The automotive supply chain adapts quickly in response to regulatory pressure. Now, I need to address something happening that could affect this timeline. As of October 1st of 2025, the federal government has shut down due to disagreements over fiscal year 2026 appropriations. This shutdown is currently stretching into 3 weeks with no immediate resolution in sight. What does this mean for the Repair Act? Well, during a government shutdown, committee work essentially grinds to a halt. The bill is currently with the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, and progress on moving it through committee hearings, markups, and votes will be delayed until the government reopens. However, and this is important, the shutdown doesn't kill the legislation. Once funding is restored and Congress returns to normal operations, The Repair Act will still be there with bipartisan support intact. If anything, the shutdown reminds us that federal legislative timelines are unpredictable, which makes state level action even more significant. And here's what's important. Even before federal legislation passes, state level activity is creating regional variations in vehicle values. If you're lending across multiple states, you may already need to account for different residual value trajectories based on local right to repair laws. And with federal progress temporarily stalled, expect more states to move forward with their own legislation rather than waiting for Washington. So, what should you do right now to prepare? First, start stress testing your residual value models with different repair cost scenarios. What happens to your portfolio if repair costs drop by 50% across specific vehicle segments? Second, review your assumptions about total loss frequency. If fewer vehicles are declared total losses, that affects gap insurance calculations and recovery expectations. Third, consider the impact on vehicle lifespans in your underwriting models. If vehicles remain economically viable longer, that changes the risk profile of longer loan terms. Fourth, start building relationships with independent repair shops in your markets. Understanding what's possible when they have full access to diagnostic tools will provide you with better insight into future residual values. And finally, and if this is new, monitor state level legislation in your key markets. You may need to adjust regional assumptions before federal law takes effect. Let me leave you with some specific numbers to think about. A recent analysis found that right to repair legislation could reduce average repair costs by 40 to 60% for vehicles with advanced electronic systems. For electric vehicles, the savings could be even higher. If we apply that to depreciation curves, we could see residual values 10 to 15% higher than current models predict. On a $40,000 vehicle, that's $4,000 to $6,000 in additional value retention. For a lender with a $1 billion auto portfolio, even a 5% improvement in residual values could mean tens of millions of dollars in reduced losses. Here's my key takeaway for today's episode. The right to repair movement isn't just about repair costs, it's about the fundamental economics of vehicle ownership. This shift could extend vehicle lifespans, reduce depreciation, and change consumer behavior around replacement cycles. Auto finance professionals who understand this shift will have a competitive edge. We're at an inflection point in this transition. With 20 states pursuing legislation and bipartisan federal support building, the question is no longer whether these changes will happen, it's when and how quickly your organization will adapt. The manufacturers will adjust, the repair ecosystem will evolve, the financial implications will ripple through our industry for years to come. My recommendation, start preparing now. Update your models, test your assumptions, and keep a close eye on both federal and state legislative developments. This is the most significant regulatory shift affecting vehicle economics since the emission standards, and it's happening right now. That's all for today's episode of Drive to Success Mastering Auto Finance. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you already adjusting your residual value models for right to repair legislation? Have you seen repair costs impact your portfolio? What questions do you have about preparing for this shift? Email me directly at masteringautofinance@gmail.com. And if this episode helped you think differently about vehicle values and loan risk, do me a favor. Share it with one colleague who needs to hear this. Text them the link right now. Subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the forces reshaping auto finance. Until then, keep driving to success.
Rolling down the avenue to a jazzy beat, following that rhythm, life's a one-way street. Chasing dreams with passion, every mile's a goal. In the world of finance, stories to be told. Catching the horizon with a soulful groove. Navigating numbers, got nothing to lose. Every calculation, every deal we sway. In the realm of autos, we find our way. Drive to success, we're mastering the art. Through the lanes of finance, we set apart. Jazz and soul, where the numbers align. Make your journey smooth with wisdom divine. Hit the keys of knowledge, let the insight play. From leases to purchases, every savvy way. Revving up those engines, zeros turn to ones. In the studio of life like morning sun. Feel the soul, embrace the jazz. In the auto world, let's razzmatazz. Financial gears shifting smooth and slick. In the podcast lane, we find the tricks. Cruising through the jargon, ain't no mystery. Unlocking all the secrets in auto history. Low ones and rates, they glisten like the stars. Drive the distance, no matter how far.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. Before we go, if you're in the market for a new or used car or even thinking about it, you must check out Drive to Success, the Ultimate Auto Finance Guide. It's packed with strategies to help you navigate the tricky world of auto financing, avoid costly mistakes, and get the best deal possible. Head over to Amazon and grab your copy today. Just search for Drive to Success, the Ultimate Auto Finance Guide, or use the link in our show notes. Take control of your car buying experience and drive away with confidence.